Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream tonight. Happy Tuesday, guys. It's a rare Tuesday stream that we've got going on. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. And tonight we've got MH370 special investigative stream going on. And I want to kind of get to it pretty quick because I know the presidential debate is tonight. And I know a lot of people want to watch it. So why are we doing this stream? First reason why we're doing this stream is that AJ from the Y-Files responded to me yesterday during the stream and was accepted the offer for me to give him the evidence. Now, what I want to say with respect to the Y-Files things, I've had a lot of people message me say you shouldn't do this with the Y-Files. You're going to regret it or whatever. And it seems that the reason why people think that is because they kind of show both sides, like they debunk the things at the end. I don't think I have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with them claiming here's the debunk efforts as well that go along with it. It'll still bring more eyes to the investigation. You guys have to keep in mind there's always going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to be fooled by the debunks or convinced by the debunks or that simply cannot believe that the videos are real, right? That's not really a factor. And you guys see me kind of going back and forth with some of these people on social media as well. So what, right? Like the world needs ditch diggers and burger flippers too, you know? So the truth is we're never going to convince everybody that's out there. So we don't even need to worry about that. I think the more exposure we get, the better. Even if we get more people that are against the case, that still brings more exposure. Like the argument that there's no such thing as bad publicity. And I think he would be respectful either way. So I don't think it would be like a situation for like where he's going to say, you know, it's not going to be like a corridor crew situation, right? Hey, Tony Merkel. Thank you, Tony, for being here. Appreciate you, brother. So that was the first thing. That was pretty big news. Now, the other thing that was huge was that this Navy SEAL chimed in and spoke about MH370. So I want to talk about this and give you guys my thoughts and see what you guys think about it. So let me pull this up real quick. I actually had it and then I closed it accidentally here. So I didn't know who this Navy SEAL was, but let me pull it up. Where is he? Here he is. Okay, so the Navy SEAL's name is Robert J. O'Neill. Now, it turns out that Robert J. O'Neill is supposedly, I mean, there's this whole conspiracy around this thing as well, that he's supposedly the guy that shot bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks. And I'm guessing the reason why people think that he didn't really do it is because there's a lot of people that think that 9/11 was fake or an inside job or whatever. Guys, I don't care. I'm not trying to get into that. Doesn't matter. This guy is a Navy SEAL. He's very connected. He's got 600,000 followers. And he posted this. This says, Malaysia Flight 370 was never a mystery. It was a warning to China. People, there's only two possibilities here, guys. This is why it's exciting. It's almost got 1 million views right now, okay? One possibility. This guy has watched my case, the investigation I put forth. There's nobody else out there that's saying Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 was a warning to China. I've done 100 podcasts, and every podcast since February or January, I have been speaking about that this was an espionage event. In fact, Tony Merkel was just in here. If you guys don't know Tony Merkel, he was the first in-person podcast I ever did almost a year ago. And back then, I didn't know if this was a UFO event going on or if this was a espionage event going on. I couldn't tell if it was one or the other. Turns out it's kind of both. So then we're going to watch this other video in a second. We're going to watch the letter to Ashton Forbes. I don't think he could have written the letter to Ashton Forbes. It doesn't make any sense. It's too in depth for him. But where I got the whole idea of this being espionage, and I had already considered the idea, I just thought it was a little bit far-fetched, was the letter to Ashton Forbes that was posted on January, let's say 8th or 9th of this year. So either this guy made that video, or he's been following the case, or the other option is somebody told him. And he's got some connections. It doesn't mean he knows about these videos, but somebody said, like, MH370 was like us and told this Navy SEAL that. So this is huge because, you know, we are finding more data points that are going to make the videos irrefutable. We've now got a major Navy SEAL who has responded and basically said the exact same thing that these videos show us. And the only way that we were able to figure out that these videos show espionage is because especially this video right here, guys. So there's people who are asking, like, why is this not aliens? That's a good question. I'm not trying to put you down right now as well. But look at what we're looking at. We've got two platforms filming this plane. This drone right here is flying really, really close to the plane. This would indicate that this is an operation right off the bat because drones cannot catch up to planes. So it had to have intercepted the plane. So right away, this just looks like an operation. The next thing that's very important is the camera work. When we look at the camera work of the drone here, they can tell something's going to go down here. They can tell something's going to go down. They don't even freak out when the orbs start circling the plane. When you look at this and they're struggling to keep the plane in view here, they can tell that something is about to happen. This is why they're zooming in on the plane at this moment, because they probably even know the orbs just got deployed. They zoom in before the orbs even get deployed. And then these orbs get deployed, and they know something's going to happen with the orbs circling the plane. Because otherwise you just say, oh, there's these orbs circling the plane. This is weird. And you would probably keep it in the view that you're seeing right here. But instead, they zoom in. They zoom in again so that you can see the heat signatures on the orbs clearly. And now the orbs are spinning around the plane vertically, and they zoom out. They zoom out right before the zap. So why would you zoom out, right? The only way you would zoom out here is because you know something's going to happen, and you need to get it in frame. And they don't quite get it in frame, but they get most of it. Because otherwise, you would stay zoomed in. I mean, they zoom out like right before it happens, too. So they must have a really good idea of what's about to go down on this. And remember, they're filming before the orbs even show up. They're filming before the orbs even show up. So these are the reasons why this is an operation. This is a United States intelligence operation. So when we start to see Navy SEAL Robert J. O'Neill, 2 silver stars, SEAL Team 6, 4 bronze stars with Valor, New York Times bestseller, speaker, the most famous Navy SEAL on the planet. And yes, this also explains why they came so down so hard at Edward Sealand. If these were just UFOs, if these were aliens, they wouldn't have come down on Edward Sealand this hard. They wouldn't have come down on him that hard for leaking the videos. They'd be like, you leaked videos of aliens stealing a plane. So what? The reason why you come down on Edward Sealand is because it's a super secret super weapon that the world has no idea about. That's the reason why you come down on Edward Sealand, right? So there you go. Yeah, and really the drone video is the best, because I want to point out as well, and this is why I showed the zap here. I was like, hey, do you want to tell me any more information, bro? Because here you go. We're looking at it. The satellite video, they could log into that system later on, and they can record the system after the event. So satellite video is not just real time. They can record it after the event. So that's why we see the person like tracking the plane like that, because they just have satellite video of like practically everywhere on the planet. The drone video, though, is real time. That drone video is filmed in real time, and somebody was tracking it, and then they leaked that real time video. Now, they might be able to manipulate the color gradient, like the rainbow filter or whatever, but the actual tracking and all of that was how it was really captured by the operator. So this is the part why I just made this post to Nancy Mace saying this is verifiable information. And I think it was Ryan. I saw a comment from Ryan, which was really smart. So I'm going to read this, and then we're going to listen to the letter to Ashton Forbes, because some people haven't heard it. So I said, if you want verifiable proof, all you have to do is subpoena SBIRS, Space-Based Infrared System, for March 7th, 2014, around 1840 UTC in the Nicobar Islands, right? Because if you subpoena this data as Congress, they're not going to be able to give it to you because it's going to be kept secret. They can't let Congress see this information. And the moment the moment Congress realizes that the SBIRS data is gone or it's being held back for that region, there's your absolute proof. You will be denied, because this is the time and the place we use gravity-defying plasma orbs to teleport MH370, and we recorded it on multiple platforms. They can also force Edward C. Lynn to testify. I mean, identified the guy who leaked the videos. He's never come out and said anything like these. It wasn't me, guys. I even talked to his lawyers, and I talked to his lawyer's office, and the lawyer wouldn't call me back even after I told him the full story. If he wasn't the guy, the first thing the lawyer would have done was pick up the phone and say, "Hey, that's a fun story, but my guy's not the guy." Like, that's the very first thing he would have done, because he doesn't want somebody on social media blasting his what's the word here? Client. Doesn't want him blasting his client all over social media with false claims. I mean, the fact that the lawyer didn't call back or say anything, and Edward C. Lynn's never said anything, should be more than enough evidence that he's the guy, right? He's more than enough. Edward C. Lynn is out of prison, for you guys, if you want to know. And then the last part is, if you compel AARO, I also gave the case to AARO, and they came back and said that they found information related to the plane related to this U.S. search efforts after the plane was lost from radar. And then they just stopped contacting me. That was like 5 months ago. So what did they find? What did AARO find? Why are they ghosting me? The only way can be because these videos are real that we're looking at right here. I mean, it's crazy that, like, I understand for people that it's really hard to believe that we have gravity technology and that all the world is a lie and that academia is a lie and it's like about several decades behind the Black projects, and that we can literally teleport an object, which proves the holographic principle is real and the distance is an illusion. But it's true. It's physics. It's science. It's reality, right? So I get that it's really hard for people to accept, but we have to go with the evidence, guys. And like, this is what I told Candace Owens. I don't know if it was on the recording, which is that if you show me evidence of an event, then I will believe it. I will believe whatever you have evidence for. I don't care how outstanding it looks, but if you have actual evidence and it's compelling, I will believe it, right? And that's how we should always look at the world. So for people that want to know when the Candace Owens interview is going to drop, she did get canceled yesterday from YouTube. She's gone on to Rumble now. I am going to be sending her some of the clips, including the Lou Elizondo clip and some other stuff to put for graphics into the video. So they have to produce it a little bit. But there's no way it's going to look bad for me. Unless she like edits some like completely other content into there. It's not going to be bad. It's not a gotcha or what have you. I even spoke to her about Julian Dory and Danny Jones and that whole incident and saga. And she was like, I would never do that to anybody, because she was like, I only talk to people that I want to talk to. And that's how I knew Candace was legit. Because like I said the same thing. I'm like, when I do podcasts, I don't bring people on that I want to like cut down or whatever. I bring people on that are interesting that I want to discuss with, right? Okay. So now, and so actually, this is a good question. Was Candace Owens surprised by my information? Because she's never interviewed anybody from the UFO community. She didn't even know who Lou Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp were. She didn't even know who those guys were. She actually told me, I think this is fine to say, she fully believes that we have advanced technology that we're hiding from the world. She believes that. She doesn't know the nature of it, but she believes that we do. She was extremely respectful. I have nothing but the highest praise for Candace Owens, to be honest with you guys. Okay, and I think it's going to be similar to the redacted interview, where it's like a lot of just going through the evidence, and she asks questions on it, and then kind of chimes in a little bit, and then I go through the science that you guys will be familiar with in terms of 0-point energy, keeping your dipole open, manipulating the vacuum. That stuff, but I do it at a very high level. I don't dig too far into the papers and stuff. I also mentioned Hal Puthoff several times. Okay, so let's quickly go back to this. Oops. Okay, so let's go back to this for a second. So again, we've got this Navy SEAL. This is, again, the only person on the entire planet, the only one who even comes close before the Navy SEAL here to say anything like this is Joseph P. Farrell. If you guys don't remember, Joseph P. Farrell said this thing about it being a super weapon. In fact, I might play that. And this is pretty close, but not quite. Okay, I think I have it. I think this is it. Can we hear this?
I'm extremely skeptical, Georgianne, at this point of the conflicting stories, because what it appears to me is what's going on is that everybody is they're obfuscating the data, which is first of all a sheer classic sign of intelligence agency involvement in an event, to obscure the data to the point that no one can interpret what really went on. Other scenarios that include 20 passengers apparently working for a semiconductor computer company that they suspect may have been involved with black projects. There have been allegations that the United States used some sort of super weapon and made the plane disintegrate or disappear to send a message to Putin or to send a message to the Chinese.
Sorry. Okay, so what? Joseph P. Farrell this was like a week after the plane disappeared. And Joseph P. Farrell is saying the United States might have used a super weapon to send a message to Putin or the Chinese. I'm sorry, what? Well, where does this information come from? We've searched the entire internet. I can't find anyone else claiming this. Like, who told Joseph P. Farrell that we were using a super weapon on the plane? And he also knocked out of the park the Freescale semiconductors. I'm going to play it out because somehow Joseph P. Farrell speculated the exact event, but it's almost like he took his own, like the motivation for his own idea away. It was really weird. So I'm going to let this play out here.
To disappear a plane requires an exotic technology. To disappear a plane and make it, so to speak, teleport somewhere else, again, would require just ginormous amounts of energy. But I'm entertaining that scenario. If one is looking at such a technology being used to convey a message, the question is, whose technology and who is the message intended for? With all the satellite coverage of the area, they would have known immediately, the moment the transponders stopped functioning.
Right.
China, the United States, India, at the minimum, would have been on alert for a possible hijacking, and they would have been focusing all of their satellite and naval resources on trying to find that aircraft. The idea that the United States attacked the plane and brought it down because there were defense scientists on board that they were afraid of defecting to China and so on and so forth. Well, for crying out loud, you don't need you don't need a super laser or whatever exotic gimmickry to do that. You put a bomb on board.
Yeah. Good grief.
Or you
Sorry, I don't know why I wasn't pausing. So it's almost like he had it figured out right there, but then he kills his own idea. He's like, I heard there might be a super weapon and we're sending a message to China or Russia. And then he even has the engineers of the motive connected to Black Project. We know they're connected to U.S. aerospace and defense. We know that. Too many of them on board. But then he goes, well, you could just put a bomb on board. You could just shoot it with a missile. But you're like, but that's not sending a message to them. You put a bomb on board, that doesn't send a message to anybody. You teleport a plane away with some orbs, that sends a message. That sends a message saying, you better be afraid every time you get on an airplane anywhere in the world, right? So this is wild. So he connected it to the defectors because 8 of them were Chinese nationals. How did he even know that? Was that even public knowledge a week after the plane disappeared? There's 20 Freescale semiconductors. 8 of them are Chinese nationals and 12 are Malaysian nationals. And they're working for an American company connected to U.S. aerospace and defense. And they're just going to Beijing all together. Isn't that just like a huge red flag? Huge red flag. Now, people ask, where did the plane go? We're going to get into that. I wanted to play this first. Let's let it play out now.
Simply remote control hijack the plane and fly it to an American base and deplane everybody. And this juncture, to me, is highly suspicious given the technological resources of the countries involved in the search.
Yeah.
This is my big problem. And the U.S., as I hasten to point out, came out very quickly after the event and said our satellites had not detected any sort of explosion or anything of the sort to indicate that kind of foul play. So something's going on here, and it's big.
Okay, so this was the other thing that's really interesting. The only statement the U.S. government made was they said they didn't detect any explosions, but they didn't say anything about any teleportation events. Remember, an endothermic event is the opposite of an explosion. What we see in the videos is the exact opposite of an explosion. So they're technically not lying. They didn't detect any explosions. They may have detected some teleportation counter espionage events going on. So this is wild. Also, so he also just said military base. All of the theories out there, guys, all of them pointed at Diego Garcia military base. Any theory that's involved with the United States government stealing MH370 basically goes back to Diego Garcia military base. And this is the main reason why I am also on board with the Diego Garcia military base theory. Now, we're going to get to all your questions. Can the Chinese satellites detect this event? Hold on to that thought. We're going to get to it in a few minutes. Hold on to it. Because now, for the people that have just been following recently, let's say you just saw me on Redacted or what have you, get ready. You're about to hear the most mind-blowing video that I've ever seen in my life. And it's addressed directly to me. So I'm just going to set the stage for just a second, which is that on January 5th, I went on Tim Pool's Culture Wars. And I posted this Miami Mall aliens thing. It's the biggest post I've ever done to date. It had 10 million views. And it was stupid. And I was in the process of thinking, I'm going to pivot to being some kind of weird pseudo social media person, right? Like the followers were starting to get to my head. I had 50,000 followers or something like that. And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be some social media influencer. I never really wanted to do all that. And you could tell that like the motivation was going down. I was kind of like, do I really want to be doing this, etc. And then somebody on our Twitter or X community post says, check out this video. I go look at the video and it says, Diego Garcia Whistleblower, a letter to Ashton Forbes. What? Diego Garcia Whistleblower, a letter to Ashton Forbes. And I watch it. And I've watched it, or I really listened to it, let's say, about 50, maybe more than 50 times. Almost every single time, or really just every single time, it raises the hair on my arms. And the reason why it does is because I can't even imagine any of you guys creating this. There's not very many people that have the knowledge of MH370 in the videos to create something that's this detailed. Now, in this video, you're going to hear the word deflectors. You're going to hear the word defectors a couple times, and then it switches to deflectors. This account had other videos on there, and they posted a few others afterwards, one related to glitter and one related to Chan Thomas, who is connected to the electric universe theory. And in the beginning of a couple of those videos, they have little follow-ups because it was clear they were monitoring the whole community. And everybody was asking, why does it say deflectors? Why are they saying deflectors? And they made a little thing like addressing the claim. They said that they used like Google Translate and Grammarly or something like that. So like basically they took a script that they were reading and they from another language and they translated it and they were having AI read it off. Now, when you listen to this AI, this is very, very good AI. I didn't know we had AI voice stuff that was this good because it sounds like you're listening to a real human. There's even inflections, emotion in some of the words, and you can hear the breaths as well, which made me think that it's actually somebody reading the script and they use an AI, like some kind of voice translation. To this day, I'm still not 100% sure. Now, right before I play this, the last thing I'm going to say is that as time has gone on, after they posted like 3 or 4 more videos, the account just completely went dark. So it wasn't like trying to piggyback off the popularity. It just completely went dark, disappeared entirely. And that is really weird. The more and more time goes by, my number one belief in what happened with that video is that was an intelligence community sending me a message, an encouragement message to keep going, to keep digging. And if you ask who would want you to do that, there's only a couple parties. China and Russia are 2 of them because we're exposing the United States government. And the other one would be a faction within the United States intelligence that wants the information to come out. But they can't do it through official means because they would be violating NDAs or something like that. Either way, pretty damn scary. So I'm going to play the whole thing through. I will write down if you guys have questions during it, and I will address the questions after. What you're going to realize is there are major connections in this letter to what Joseph P. Farrell said and to what Robert J. O'Neill, the Navy SEAL, just said. And as far as I know, these are the only sources of the claim that this was some type of message to China. Okay? And after we listen to this letter, we're going to look at some of the evidence that corroborates it that we had already found out before the letter was posted, but that wasn't very popular. Like somebody had to be watching very, very closely. Okay? Oh, yes. And the other thing is I did this little, I was trying to figure out if this was a prank. So what I did was I played the whole video several times on my YouTube channel to see if they would copyright strike me, because that happened several times and they never copyright struck me ever. Never did, which would indicate that this was really a message where they just wanted me to hear the message and they wanted me to maybe share the message as well. Okay. Here we go.
A submission sent to us the 8th of January of 2024. It's a letter to an Ashton Forbes telling a new story of what happened to Malaysian Airlines MH370 that disappeared back in 2014. And as always, don't trust what you read on the news. Trust your own capability to see the world for what it really is. Here we go.
I work or have worked at a military base in the Maldives, and I know exactly what happened to Malaysian Airlines MH370. This is also a letter to Ashton Forbes. You are not wrong, and what you do are much bigger than you even can imagine. Don't stop what you are doing. I won't tell anything about myself more than that I currently or in the past has spent time at a military base in the Maldives. That I have done this type of work since I joined the military when I was young, and that was many decades ago. Still in the game, but the years are starting to get to me. I write this because I want the world to know that most of the trouble on Earth are created for political reasons. United States, or at least a covert administrative elite of the U.S., has, at will, complete control, and this has been true since the 60s. Flight MH370 arrived at our base, by our hand, at 1856 UTC after we picked it up, mid-air, outside the island of Great Nicobar. Just one of many, many things we do. We can pick up anything, anywhere, and deliver it in an instant, like a magic FedEx. Some facts about why it happened. MH370 had defectors on board. They were running to China with American technology. They are Chinese by blood and had gotten themselves into a situation with the Chinese regime who got them to choose to defect. The whole play, everything, and I mean everything about it, was a political play to show the Chinese who's their daddy. That's us. Some facts about how it happened. All passengers are dead, all but the handful of deflectors. The plane did not crash. The plane was on fire, we know because we started it. The plane was picked up by us, on fire, mid-air, right in front of the Chinese. The Chinese regime knows exactly what happened, and that was the whole point of the operation. Okay, this is what I want to share with you. As I said, I have been doing this for a long time. I know the technology and have been a part of hundreds of operations. So let's start with the tech. The foundation is not superconductivity. Superconductivity is a product of the technology. We have had this since the 1960s, and from that first day we have used it to make sure that no one else can have it. The big breakthrough to apply the tech as we do today came in the beginning of the 2000s with quantum computers, and by this, the paradigm for AI technology. What we had to do programmatically before, we now can do with something akin to machine intuition. This lets us operate in fast-moving environments where event-based logic in linear programming was very limited. As I said, what you have found is not the technology itself, it's just one of many derivatives of the technology. I encourage you to keep on with what you are doing, but you should also be aware that there is a deeper layer that you could focus on instead of the Miami aliens that I see you have been posting about. I will give you some pointers for this at the end of this letter. The products or application you are now working on is correctly based on superconductivity. The number of orbs you've been speculating about is correct. The fourth orb decides where the object ends up. The technology is based on structures, simple and beautiful structures that lets us use the unlimited power that is everywhere and step outside what I would like to describe as perceived reality. The structure that is used for what you are looking at is a metastructure that creates a low complexity and relative low energy phase transition. The beauty of this technology lies in its elegance and simplicity. The structures are inherently stable and self-regulating, and the earlier challenges to conduct operations were 100% based on the limits of man. With the same technology, just a slightly altered monostructure gives us an infinite power generator that without maintenance can run forever. Combine structures to a meta-product again, and you have the propulsion for a transmedium object moving faster than light. It's the definition of magic. There are endless applications, and the truth is that it would change the world in an instant. But that won't happen. I bet yourself, or at least most of your audience, have heard a version of the story that the aliens are here and they want to bless us with new clean and revolutionary technology, but we are a too young and rowdy civilization and would not be able to be responsible enough with the gifts from them. That's probably made up, but that is at the same time completely true. It's just not aliens saying this. It's us again. The technology is infinite in its power, and if two rivaling parties had access to it, this world wouldn't last a day. The same technology, with a combination of monostructures, makes a terrifying weapon that turns any matter into dust, and that dust turns into air. It does not matter if the object is a small bird or an aircraft carrier. It cannot be stopped. It does not miss, and when the object has been hit, the phasing cannot be stopped. Okay, so back to MH370. We knew about the deflectors as soon as they made their decision. Well before that, but then they weren't deflectors. Anyway, we knew when, how, and why back in December, and as we do, we made it into politics. We let them go. We took them back and sent the Chinese a clear message of who is in control. And we did this with a brilliantly produced show that is fit for a Hollywood production. Any good movie has fire, desperation, regret, and drama. And every movie villain should see their plan fall apart. And in really good movies, just when the villain has accepted that the plan has failed, the heroes of the movie steps in and makes it worse. This is what happened. As soon as we knew what plane was the last leg of their journey, we planned and delivered, so the plane was loaded up with lithium-ion batteries, built by us for this occasion. Lithium-ion batteries cannot be put out, has a predictable burn rate, and we made sure that the volume was just right for a long burn that would allow for a full-length show. The Chinese were following the plane since it was on the tarmac and got to see their most close-to-success operation go up in flames. And just as all hope was lost, we made it worse. Right in front of their eyes, 2 hours and 13 minutes in, they saw the plane get phased out of there by the same technology they were trying to get access to. And 5 days later, the Chinese officially made a gesture of submissiveness by publishing a frame from the satellite of the phase moment via the State Administration for Science. The publishing was talked about in American newspapers as a possible debris field. But when you know what you are looking at, it's clear what the frame shows. The aftermath. During the 5 days after the show, the Chinese found out about the batteries, that we both made and placed them on the plane. They accepted that we have been playing with them the whole time and at the same time could accept that the people they had convinced to deflect did what they wanted. It was us that stopped them. The deflectors had a good corrective experience when it comes to staying loyal and were back on the job as usual, but with a new understanding both of their importance and the consequences of their actions. What was nothing more than another Friday at the office for the administrative elite, 200 people had the most confusing death experience you could imagine. 1,500 people lived a tragedy, losing family members in a mystery, and 10,000s spent months searching and millions speculating for years. Then in 2014, military footage of the event got published on YouTube. Not our problem. The person responsible for the leak was identified and taken care of. Not by us, not our problem. Then came you. Hi, Ashton. Impressive. This is what I want to leave you with. There was a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast that was talking about sacred geometry and some new technology his friends had discovered on some island somewhere. He did record another episode, but it never been published. Doesn't the wording sacred geometry remind you of something? If you choose to spend time on this, which I think you should instead of mall aliens, keep in mind that your case is one product of the technology. What happens on the other island, you will understand this if you pursue it, is another more rudimentary product. What if those in combination could lead you on the right path to the actual technology? The gray-bearded man is the key, and he probably has no idea that he is. Finally, I want to say this. How do you defeat someone who can turn skyscrapers to dust, completely erase whole neighborhoods in an afternoon, and steal a burning Boeing 777 midair? Someone who, when needed, has the complete control of all media and crafts the perception of events and has most of humanity eating from its hands. After almost a full life in their service, I think I know the answer. You talk about them, and you don't stop talking.
Holy shit, chat. I almost want to cry listening to that because it's just rings way too true. Like, just way too true. How could somebody invent that without inside information? Way too original. It's creepy. It's absolutely creepy. Yeah, it's so crazy. And the more I listen to it, the more crazy it gets, to be honest with you. Keep in mind, when I first heard this, I did not even understand all of the physics yet. Like, I was still in the early process of learning it. Like, I understood we could teleport a plane, but how? So as some of you pointed out and you saw there, he talks about Randall Carlson. I didn't even know who Randall Carlson was. People thought I was lying when I didn't know who Randall Carlson was. Guys, I'm not like some major person who listens to every podcast out there. Especially before this, I didn't think any of this stuff was possible. So if I had seen an interview with Randall Carlson, I would have thought he's just some guy in the woo. But recently, I posted a video of Randall Carlson talking about plasmoids and how they have a self-organizing toroidal structure to them. And we've watched several videos where you can confine a plasmoid in a magnetic field, and it has this self-organizing ring that it forms, self-perpetuating ring. So let me address a few of the clips on here. Yeah, you don't stop talking. I mean, God, you chat, you are going wild. I can't even keep up. Okay, so defectors. It says that we knew the defectors were on board and we planned it 3 months ahead. Now you guys see why I went from being like, oh, this was maybe, before this I was saying maybe we were rescuing the plane. But a lot of people would criticize me. They'd say, no, the military would never rescue the plane. We would just let it crash. Well, now once you, and it almost takes them like, you have to break it down point by point. And then you realize like, well, actually this does make the most sense that like we put the batteries on board. They missed the security screenings. That's true. We had them on board. They do have a predictable burn rate. Every expert I've talked to about the batteries say the plane would not have burnt up in like 5 or 15 minutes, whatever these people are trying to say. It would have been able to last for an hour and 20 minutes. The whole story about like, why are we doing this is that we're setting up this almost like movie-esque play to just show the Chinese that we are not messing around. It's like if you're the Harlem Globetrotters and you're just dunking on the nerds all over the place, like, right? You're just making a fool out of them. You're making them look absolutely silly. This is why we're saying, who's your daddy? So people are wondering, where does the who's your daddy come from? This is where it comes from. So that's the inside joke. When I say who's your daddy, when I was responding to the Navy SEAL, was because that's what the story is that we did this as a message to China to show them we are your daddy and you are not going to mess with us. And so when that Navy SEAL says that, the first question I have is, who the hell talked to that Navy SEAL? Who talked to that Navy SEAL? I don't think that Navy SEAL's been following my work. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Even if they are, why are they posting that? They weren't crediting me on it at all. So totally wild. We started the fire. So as opposed to the accidental approach, before this, I was like 80% sure it was an accidental fire. Now I'm like 90% sure it was not accidental, but there's still some chance. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the science, okay? Plasma. We've realized only recently over the last couple months, plasma is the answer. Plasmoids are the answer. That's what we're seeing when we're looking at the orbs in the MH370 video. We're looking at a coherent ball of plasma. And we've dug into EVOs. If you guys go back in my live stream and look at the EVO live stream, you'll see that Ken Shoulders and others, and if we look at sonoluminescence, we realize that the ether all around us allows us to produce infinite energy from the ether. The person in this video mentions that. And superconductivity. They even say this is not, superconductivity is a byproduct of the technology. When you are able to produce your orb or your exotic vacuum objects or your Bose-Einstein condensate, superconductivity comes along with it. So when you get to that fourth state of matter where the electrons break free, they come together and they form these dense electron pairs, Cooper pairs. That's superconductivity. So now I understand that initially I was thinking, oh, we apply superconductivity and then that allows the technology to take off. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. The technology itself leads the superconductivity through the plasma. So we know this letter, beyond any shadow of a doubt, is talking about plasma orbs. That's the technology. The orbs are the technology. And this tells us too, he says, it's not aliens, it's us. This is why we're hiding it. We've developed this plasma orb technology, and it goes way beyond just teleporting, way beyond. He even mentions in there, he says, this technology allows us to extract unlimited power from everywhere around us. What does that sound like, chat? That's the ether. That's the 0 point energy. We have this energy all around us, this technology, these orbs, the orbs of plasma, they create the dipole. The dipole, like imagine your battery, you have your positive up here and you have your negative up here. All this means is that you have excess negative charges clustered together. That's exactly what the plasma does. It allows the electrons to group together and create your asymmetry. And then the energy just coheres directly out of the ether. Immediately starts coming out. So, good question. What else can they do? So this is the part, guys, that gets scary. And I mentioned this last night on my stream. I would almost argue that teleportation, it seems incredible, but it's not even the craziest part about this. Free energy. Free energy. We're talking about free energy. And they even say that we can essentially just use this and have a confined ball of plasma that is producing infinite energy, the power of the sun in the palm of your hand, like Spider-Man 2. Like literally, we have infinite energy from this. That's bigger than teleportation. Unlimited energy, free energy. And we can also literally just conjure hydrogen straight out of the ether. We can produce elements out of nowhere. Basically the power of God. And we can actually transmute elements as well. We can transmute them. We could probably make gold. Somebody would say, does the US government have control over this? Now, I'm convinced that Russia, China, and the United States are all trying to advance this technology. Somebody in the live stream nailed it last night. And they said it's about the cap of the technology. So imagine that the orbs are somewhere down here. It's about how do you advance it? So who can get to the top, the limit of what the technology can do the fastest? That's what we're all trying to do. That's what Russia and China and the United States are trying to do. Whoever gets to the cap, the limit of the technology the fastest, they win. They win. And in the meantime, people are trying to figure out what can they do with technology. We can conjure hydrogen out of the ether. We can get unlimited energy. We can transmute elements. We can teleport airplanes with it. You know, we don't even know. Maybe there's more capabilities that we can do. We can turn stuff invisible, probably. We can make force fields. We can probably make a replicator. Like Star Trek. Anything you see in Star Trek, we can possibly do. And yeah, what if there is no cap? That's the thing. We don't even know where the cap is. We don't even know where the cap is on this technology. We can make a black hole out of this technology, a literal black hole. We can destroy the sun. We can destroy the entire solar system. So this is why they say any two warring factions that have this technology, that's it. That's the end. We lose. Game over. Planet is gone. And I think that part of the reason why I've been allowed to continue to speak about this, where I haven't had people doing horrible things to me or what have you, is because I understand the implications. I understand the dangers that come along with it. I fully understand it. And I understand exactly what this technology can do. And I'm not blind to that at all. In fact, I can see why they would hide it. I totally understand. It's not just that the stock markets would crash and that people are going to go to jail. Like, we're literally talking about technology that is an extinction event. It could be the answer for the great filter on terms of why we don't see civilizations everywhere. Because maybe some of the black holes we're seeing out there are civilizations that found this technology out and then just wiped out their whole civilization, right? The other thing they say is that they like to think that this technology allows us to step outside of our perceived reality. Now, this is something that I've been talking to my friend Dave Rossi about just in text messages, because I love talking about scientific concepts about this. And I think we're both absolutely sure that the universe, the reality that we see is a hologram. We are seeing the holographic principle is real. And the way that the kind of the proof of that is that teleportation itself. If you can dematerialize and rematerialize or teleport through a wormhole, as we would call it, from one location to the other, that means that distance must be an illusion. Distance itself must be an illusion, and that we are basically being rendered in real time. Just an extremely advanced rendering, and we could probably recreate it at some point in the future, like literally create a universe. We can probably get to a point where we can create a Big Bang and we can create our own mini universes. So this is like, you start to realize how huge this is. They mentioned that these are stable and self-regulating. This is also, again, what we learned from the plasmoids. So even now, listening to this today, I'm going, oh shit, like this person knew. They were saying stuff about the science that I didn't even know until a few weeks ago when we did the whole EVO plasma research deep dive. And now I look at it and I go, of course, like it's unlimited power. It's all about the plasma technology. That's what it all comes back to in this case. And then the gray bearded man. So it wasn't about Malcolm Bendel at all. I'm realizing it wasn't about Malcolm Bendel. It was always about Randall Carlson, because Randall Carlson had found out accidentally about the plasmoids and the electric universe model. And he doesn't even realize that he's over the target. How do I know that? Because I talked to Randall Carlson. I talked to him. I met him in Cosmic Summit. And he's more interested in talking about ancient history and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, man, like there was this letter, like it tells me I need to talk to you, or like, that you figured this out and that you don't even know that you figured it out. Because Randall Carlson understands there's this crazy thing, this plasmoid, it's self-organizing or whatever. He doesn't realize the implications. Because once you realize that that's free energy, then you see how we can teleport an airplane, because you're like, oh, energy requirements aren't even an issue anymore because we have unlimited energy. So this now becomes possible. This is like just, we're seeing literal wormholes breaking through the Schwinger limit. Now, the other thing that's interesting that I don't think we've quite figured out, but maybe we have, is that it's a low energy phase transition, which means it would kind of argue that it's not exactly what classical physics would expect. That we don't need this huge infinite amount of energy, as much energy as the planet of Jupiter to make a wormhole. That we figured out how to do it through a very low energy phase transition. My guess is it's related to negative energy, and that it's related to how negative energy interacts with our reality. And therefore, we don't need this massive amount of energy. They found a way where we can get it with a very low, a much smaller amount of energy to cause this phase transition or this wormhole that we're seeing in the videos. One of the ways that might be possible is because the speed of light is going to be shifted and changed in the plasma. And if we can slow the speed of light, that might reduce the energy requirement as well. So this is honestly wild. Now, somebody also asked me, like, do you think there's some kind of destiny thing happening right now? And I want to speak to that, even though it's a little bit esoteric, because I honestly think about it every single day. Every single day. I honestly sit there. Last night, I was taking Lulu for a walk after our stream last night, and I had seen the Navy SEAL thing, and I'm just sitting here going, like, is all of this an illusion? And I'm just like the only real person, and that this is some hologram where I'm in? Because like, you have to look at it from my perspective, guys. Like, this is fucking crazy. Like, not even just the technology, but the fact that I'm somehow involved in this, and I've got this weird letter being sent to me. Like, is this being set up? Like, am I being used? But I know I wasn't picked for this because I made the conscious choice to promote those videos before nobody knew who I was. So the only way, and again, I'm going to dig into the woo here a little bit, would be if there is some type of retro causality going on, like future Ashton sent a message back to past Ashton that set all these events in motion or something like that. And I do wonder about that because I don't know how time really works, to be honest with you. I don't know if retro causality, aka sending information to the past, is something that's possible or not. I do think that time is mostly an illusion. So I don't know is the answer to that. Mostly the way I go through every day is I just say it doesn't even matter. It just doesn't matter. Like, we're going down this path anyway, no matter what, no matter where this leads, no matter if this leads to me being assassinated or if this leads to me being the most famous person on earth for revealing the biggest conspiracy of all time. I don't know. I don't care. I don't know. We're just going down the path. We're going to find out what happens. You know, at the end of the day, it was entertaining. This life has been entertaining. Either way, doesn't matter at all to me, guys. And I think that's a good way to approach it, because you don't want to get too much into it. I'm the Messiah, blah, blah, blah. Like, because of course not. Like, that's just, I'm not that full of myself. It's ridiculous. Okay. Okay, so then let me make sure we hit all the points I wanted to say. So honestly, that video, guys, if you've been watching my live streams, that video, you're like, okay, somebody knows some stuff here, right? Like this was stuff that I didn't even know about this science. The speed of light is not actually constant. It's constant in the vacuum as if it's unchanged. And the reason for this is because the vacuum itself is a medium and it's in an equilibrium state. The vacuum's not empty. It's in an equilibrium state. So when light transmits through it, it always looks the same to us. Like if you are a fish in a fish tank and you only see the light in the fish tank, you're going to think that the speed of light is constant. But if you remove the water out of the fish tank and you shine the light through it, it's going to go at a different speed. There's a refractive index change between water and air and free space called the permittivity of free space. Now, the thing is, when you realize from the physics perspective that we are in this equilibrium of energy and everything below here is our 0 point energy, our quantum energy that we have out there. If we can remove the quantum energy, you can change the permittivity of free space. And if you change the permittivity of free space, you change the speed of light. This is the connection to the orbs. This is how you can slow the speed of light. You can change the permittivity, which changes the refractive index. And I still don't know if you're trying to get the speed of light to become 0 or infinite. All I know is just like when I make the analogy on the magic cards you guys see here, when you're making a magic card deck, you're looking for a deck that will break the game, that you're breaking the game entirely. If you want to think of it as like instead of a linear growth, you want to see something that's exponential, that just gets so powerful that it just becomes infinite. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what superconductivity, that's what the plasma stuff allows us to do. That's what manipulating the permittivity of free space allows us to do. And if you listen to Hal Puthoff, he talks about this all the time, which is why when I got on that, I'm like, oh shit, Hal Puthoff knows, guys. Hal Puthoff fucking knows, man. So when you see me talk about him, and especially if you look at my post about the Wikipedia edits, I went through all the messages in the Wikipedia edits, and now you see how they're hiding it, because you've got these CNN brain idiots out there who think that 0 point energy is some kind of, they think it's some kind of sci-fi thing, because they just don't understand quantum mechanics at all. And they don't understand the concept of space is not empty. It's in some equilibrium. And that's why Hal Puthoff sent them the papers. Those are the same exact papers that I talk about every time, because I've read them all. And when you read them all, you realize that there must be this equilibrium of energy. We can extract the energy. It doesn't violate the laws of thermodynamics, because once you realize that there's this energy like that, and that removing the energy reduces inertia, which reduces your weight, gravity reduction. Like, this is the answer to everything. It's just out there and it's 100% real. I just can't believe it. I'm going to boop Lulu in a second, guys. She doesn't like when I pick her up at night for some reason. Okay. Selected by yourself, not from yourself. Okay. Whew. Well, this makes me feel a little bit better. At least I'm not telling myself from the future. Now, one more thing on the retrocausality, guys, and I won't talk about it anymore because it is weird. It freaks me out a little bit as well. The thing that made me start thinking about the retrocausality thing, that started freaking me out about, like, maybe there's future Ashton that like is interacting with my past self, was Salvatore Paez. Because when I spoke to Salvatore Paez for the first time, it was like he already knew who I was. Like, when I interacted with Salvatore Paez, you guys can watch the Hard Truths #1 with Salvatore Paez. I had never met him before. I had only talked to him like once in an email ever. That was it. And I didn't know any of this stuff. And the way he was talking about me was like I was some kind of person that had figured everything out. And I'm like, well, maybe he's just like impressed by my like investigation into MH370. But then more of me is like, man, maybe he's like talked to a future version of myself or something like that. Like I couldn't get my brain around it. It's super weird. So anyway, that was why. And it's very moist chat. This debate tonight is going to be very moist as well. I think it starts in 30 minutes. So we have to close this up pretty soon here. So we have to get through a couple more things, guys. But there you go. So what I want people to take from this, I'm going to say Hal Puthoff's name in every single interview I do from now on, every single one, because I'm sure this guy deserves a Nobel Prize. Hal Puthoff's the one I've decided is going to get the Nobel Prize. I like everybody else. I love Salvatore Paez. I love Eric Davis, etc. But Hal Puthoff, this guy deserves it, and I want him to win it before he dies. I want him to see his own Nobel Prize, because he deserves it. He's one of the biggest giants out there, and he might be gatekeeping the information, but I think he's doing it for a good reason. And I also think that he may have so many NDAs that he can't really like speak out too much about it in general. But he's seen it. I know he's seen it. The same way I know that Salvatore Paez has seen some orbs or something is the same reason why I know that Hal Puthoff has seen this stuff. Neither of them have ever said anything like that to me. I've never even interacted with Hal Puthoff directly, but I know. And Job Martinez, does 0 point have anything to do with dark energy and dark matter? Yes, it does. 0 point sounds similar to the ether. It is. 0 point energy is the ether. The ether is the energy that I'm talking about that's in that equilibrium state that we can extract right out of all around us. That's what the letter was talking about as well. And yes, this is dark matter and dark energy. It explains both of them. And this is the reason why, guys, how could these videos in science be fake when it explains everything we don't understand about physics today? I mean, everything. Everything we don't understand about physics today is explained by 0 point energy. All we have to do is say space is not empty. There is an ether filled with 0 point energy, and that it is technically negative energy. It's just real energy, but extracting it is negative. That's it. That explains everything. So you're just like, once you realize that, you're like, how are people ignoring this? How are other physicists not excited by this and figuring this out? Like, it's wild. I don't think that the plane was teleported outside of our solar system. I'm going to post a quick thing here, and then we're going to look at a couple other images I've got, because people always ask, I don't know what happened to the passengers. I think the fire event probably killed the passengers. But again, we can't know 100%. We just don't have the inside information to know 100%. So this right here is our best guess based on where we think the plane went. Now, based on the letter to Ashton Forbes, it's possible the plane went straight to Diego Garcia. But we think that the plane somehow teleported near these islands because there's a fire suppression device that washes up on these islands. And there's also like 15 or 20 islanders that see it in the early morning hours. Now, it's also possible that it teleported to some other island and they landed it and they took it off again, but we don't really know. And then we have the Philip Wood picture from Diego Garcia that was posted like 10 days after the plane disappeared, saying he was held prisoner in Diego Garcia. He's the American adult passenger. So we think the best evidence says this plane somehow ended up over here in the Maldives, and then it flew south to Diego Garcia, which is the only place that you could hide a Boeing 777. Only place. Like, there's nowhere else to hide this plane, right? It's got to be it. Okay. Woo! What a crazy, crazy night, chat. Okay. Yeah. Call me brother. When Salvatore Paez is like, you should call me brother, I'm like, do I know you? Do you know a future version of myself? I mean, I just don't know. Like, it's weird, especially because I held Salvatore Paez in such high regard, guys. Okay, now let's talk about these other posts that I've got here. So the Chinese hack. So many of you may not know this, but China hacked the Malaysian government the day after the plane disappeared. I mean, like, what? And like, it's crazy how much of this information just got straight up ignored. Just straight up ignored. Because you look at all this, especially with respect to the investigation, you're like, Chinese hackers target MH370 investigation a day after the jet went missing. What? So China is hacking the Malaysian government the day after the plane disappears? Sorry, what? How are people not like, hey, why is China hacking the Malaysian government and stealing information about the plane? Is that not crazy to anybody else in the chat? So let's see what it says. Oh, this one. So they used malware disguised as a news report that the missing jet had been found, and they emailed it to Malaysian officials on March 9th, a day after the plane disappeared. Yeah, they're trying to figure out what happened, right? Chinese hackers reportedly took classified information, classified data. Come on. Why do these, God, legacy media is just garbage, man. Chinese hackers reportedly took classified data on MH370 the day after it went missing. They ran a social engineering hack. They made them click on it. Let's see. The user clicked on a PDF document and released the malware unknowingly to 30 computers belonging to high-ranking officials at agencies involved with the investigation. Where does it say what they stole? Those emails contained confidential information from the officials' computers, including the minutes of meetings and classified documents. Why would they have secret meeting minute notes and confidential data and classified documents about the plane the day after the plane went missing? The day after, they've already got classified information about the plane. The only way that could be possible is that they're hiding communications. That's the only thing I can imagine. They were hiding communications with the plane because they knew the fire event was going on, and they were talking to the pilots. So they knew it was a fire the whole time, and they didn't release that. So this is why they waited so long to release the communications. They had to figure out which communications can they release to the public where the public won't figure out that it's a fire event. That's why we only got the goodnight MH370 communication, and we got nothing after that. Of course, they still had communications. This is why people are like, oh, the pilot made the whole plane go dark. It's like, that doesn't even make the communications go out. That's not even how you put out the communications. And we know they had communications because there was another pilot 10 minutes after the plane goes dark that heard the pilots of MH370. But they were too afraid to give their name because they didn't want to get canceled because they knew there was a cover-up going on. So, crazy. Does it say what the motivation was? Here we go. At the time, there were some people accusing the government of not releasing critical information. But everything on the investigation has been disclosed. Yeah, well, China knows that's bullshit. China knows that's bullshit. I mean, we know that's bullshit because we've listened to all the press conferences and we've listened to the Malaysian Minister of Defense. And the Malaysian Minister of Defense is like, well, that'll come out in time. That'll come out in time. If they had released everything, he wouldn't be saying that. He would have said, here's all the information. Instead, he wouldn't answer any questions about it. So the next thing is the Chinese satellite images. So 5 days after the plane goes missing, satellite images point to possible crash site for missing jet. Time magazine, March 12th, 2014. This is only 4 days after. I'm going to use the Al Jazeera one because I hate time. So basically, these images get leaked on the internet. How would some random satellite images just get leaked to the internet from China? China leaks these satellite images to the internet. I'm going to probably just go to the images because I don't even want to read all this garbage. It gets reported on as floating objects. It's clearly not floating objects. No governments confirmed the report, and they did not say when the Chinese officials became aware of the images associated with them in the missing plane. So these images just get on the internet, and they just start getting reported on as debris from the plane. Should we look at the images, chat? Let's look at the images. Oh, what? Can I make this bigger? Are you kidding me? Look at this image, chat. What? That doesn't even look like it's in the water. Doesn't this look like it's above the clouds? It's a triangle. You can see 3 orbs, and it looks like it's above the clouds. How is this getting reported on as debris in the ocean? You kidding me? Look at this. This is what China leaks? I'm the only person on the face of the planet, other than the letter we just listened to, that has argued that this was a message to the United States. And I speculated before that letter was even released, the letter to Ashton Forbes. I said maybe this was a message of China saying, we know what you did with the plane. You know what's also wild? These clouds are the same kind of clouds. These are cumulus clouds we're seeing. These are low altitude clouds here. Now, let me go back real quick. Now, look at those clouds. And I tried to match it up, guys. I tried. Other people went more all in on it than me. Look at how similar those clouds look to these clouds that we're seeing right here. Don't they look really, really similar? Especially when you get further over to the right here. Like, really makes me wonder if like that right there, like this is not the spot right here, possibly where they took that shot. I'm just going to switch it back for you guys. Look at the comparison of this shot right here and that. Oh, no, don't start. Look at this. To me, like that looks like right there. That could be the shot. How wild is that? Yeah, Jonas took these pictures out of an airplane, though. I mean, we've got hacked pictures or pictures that leak to the internet, pictures that the clouds are like vaguely matching the pictures we're seeing from a satellite video here. Did Jonas DeRoe take these images here too? And so people ask, did China see? And the answer is China did see, right? These are satellite images from China, but you can see they're much lower resolution because their satellites aren't nearly as good as ours. So China potentially had like this is probably geostationary satellite imagery because of how far away it is, versus this right here is like some kind of system like that's incorporating multiple data points to basically reproduce video footage. Or this could also just be like some kind of spy satellite system that we don't even know about. But based on the NROL-22, it's most likely just a SBIRS system. It also looks like it's in infrared as well. So very much looks like this is just SBIRS system. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to go over paramagnetic oscillation, by the way, tomorrow. That's the plan. Because I'm going to start digging into the idea of how oscillation and resonance plays into this. I'm ready for that, I think. I have it on pretty good cause that resonance is what we can also manipulate with the orbs. Now, there's even more images. There's actually 3 images here. So there was, oh, come on, ABC. Why are you like this, ABC? Maybe I'll just pull up these other ones here. So here's another one. Also very similar. My God. Another very similar, same kind of clouds. Also looks like a triangle, but looks like very low resolution as well. So there was like 3 images. Maybe this is the better one. Yeah, this one's probably a little bit better. So we can see there's 3 images. To me, I mean, that looks like our videos. So we've got the Chinese hack. We've got these satellite images from MH370. None of this makes any sense unless China knows something's going on, right? And we've got Edward C. Lin. Oh, this is another good point. I've wondered about this, actually. Like, maybe 0 and infinite are really just the same. And so it's not even a matter of slowing the speed of light to nothing and stopping it or increasing it to infinite. Maybe they're just the same. I actually have thought about that as well. 0 equals infinity. Possibly. Possibly. That's a really good thought for whoever posted that. Okay, and then, the Navy SEALs. This is the last thing we're going to go over tonight, guys. And then we're going to call it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So, here it is. There was these Navy SEALs, the suspicious deaths of Mark Daniel Kennedy and Jeffrey Keith Reynolds. There was this Russian report. I'm going to show it to you guys in a second. These guys were on board the Alabama Maersk. They were working for the Trident Group. They were protecting cargo on this plane. February 18th, 2014. This is 2 weeks before the plane disappears. 2 weeks. Why is this significant? Because this makes sense that if something from this boat got on the plane, that time frame fits basically perfectly. These guys, they basically came back onto the ship at 6 a.m. They supposedly met prostitutes. The government loves to claim people are meeting prostitutes, by the way, when they want to discredit somebody. And then they both are found dead next to each other in their cabin, both dead from overdoses with pills and syringes and heroin scattered on the floor. Like, you couldn't imagine, like, just, it's like sprinkle a little crack on them, guys. So throw some pills on the ground. Like, this is what? This is like the standard operating procedure for when you're trying to make somebody disappear and make it look like a suicide, right? Or make it look like an overdose. I mean, it's incredible. After 6 a.m., so they get back after 6 a.m. and they both decide they're going to shoot some heroin up, and then they both overdose at the exact same time. And their families knew something was wrong. The families were convinced there was a cover-up. I don't believe Mark took drugs. That's not the Mark I knew. There's so much more to this that is not being told right now. Friends who grew up with Mark Kennedy alongside him at a local cross fitness ridiculed suggestions that he'd become a heroin user or that he hung out with hookers. It's rubbish to say that he's suddenly taking heroin. He did not even smoke. So why is someone who's a SEAL, who's been taught to look after their body, become a junkie? It doesn't add up. Something is wrong. Mark's dad had been weeping and said, there has to be an investigation. I honestly cried when I was researching this piece and finding all the news articles about this. I was literally crying because my spider sense, guys, you guys know my intuition. Everything stunk about this. Everything stunk. And I remember reading about this years ago. And even years ago, I went, this is weird. Something does not add up here. And the media wouldn't touch it, of course. And whenever the media doesn't touch it, you know something is weird going on. And another friend who didn't want to be named said, what are the chances that two ex-Navy SEALs dying at the same time in the same room? Bingo. Bingo. Two Navy SEALs, both doing heroin, who have no history of drug use, both die at the exact same time in the exact same room. Isn't it the smallest bit suspicious that they both take heroin and die? Yes, it could be a contaminated batch, but I just don't buy it. Absolutely agree. I don't buy it either. And then supposedly this cargo gets loaded onto MH370. So are you ready for the next banger? This has basically been ignored. I think this archive should work. This was a very almost not reported on in Western media at all, chat. I hope you guys are ready for this. If you have not seen what I'm about to show you guys, your mind is about to be blown wide open. March 14th, 2014, guys, 6 days after the plane disappears. Russia is puzzled over Malaysian Airlines capture by the U.S. Navy. Holy shit. Thank you very much, 740 Motorsports. Look up 9 code in mathematics. 0 and infinite are the same. Thank you for that. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. 9 code. Okay. So right off the bat, Russia is basically blowing the whistle on us stealing this plane 6 days after the plane disappeared. And nobody reported on this. Like, we had to dig through the archives to find this. Yeah, right away. Guys, if you think that's crazy, get ready, chat. Get ready. I might have to repost this, actually, like later this week, because this is just nuts. And, of course, what happened back in 2014? Everybody just goes, oh, this is Russian disinformation. There's no credibility to it, right? No credibility to it. But when you're watching 2 videos of the United States government teleporting the plane away, and then you read this, you're like, oh, this is 100% legit. And why would Russia lie about this? Russia's not even involved in this situation. Why would Russia point the finger at us unless they just straight up know? So I'm going to read this. A new report circulated in the Kremlin today, prepared by the main intelligence directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, the GRU, that's their FBI, states that the Aerospace Defense Forces expert remained puzzled as to why the United States Navy captured and then diverted a Malaysian Airlines civilian craft from its intended flight path to their vast and highly secretive Indian Ocean base located on Diego Garcia. What? So Russia was basically saying 6 days after the plane disappeared that the Navy took the plane and we flew it to Diego Garcia, or we got it to Diego Garcia. According to this report, the plane was scheduled to fly from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing when the aircraft disappeared in flight with 227 people on board. The way they have disappeared in quotes right there doesn't make me think that it just went dark. Disappeared. Like, poof, we teleported it. Interesting note, this report says that it was already under surveillance. The GRU already had the plane under surveillance after it received a highly suspicious cargo load that had been traced to the Indian Ocean nation of whatever Scillies, whatever you say this, and where it had previously been on board U.S. flagged container ship Alabama Maersk. You know, the one with the seals that we just looked at? What first aroused the suspicions of the Maersk was that within 24 hours of loading this highly suspicious cargo, bound for Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, 2 highly trained SEALs assigned to it, Mark Daniel Kennedy and Jeffrey Keith Reynolds, were found dead under suspicious circumstances. What? Are you fucking kidding me? So 24 hours after the cargo gets loaded onto the Maersk, both of these SEALs are found dead in their cabin from a overdose at the exact same time. Both Kennedy and Reynolds were employed by Virginia Beach, the Trident Group, which was founded by U.S. Navy Special Operations personnel, SEALs, and senior U.S. Naval surveillance warfare officers, and has been long known by the GRU to protect vital transfers of both atomic and biological materials throughout the world. Upon the GRU assets confirming that the highly suspicious cargo was aboard MH370 on March 8th, Moscow notified the Chinese Ministry of State Security of their concerns and received assurances that all measures would be taken to ascertain what was being kept so hidden when this aircraft entered their aerospace. However, this report says, and is yet for unknown reasons, the MSS, so the CCP, was basically preparing to divert the plane from its scheduled destination to HAK, a different airport. So this basically says that China was planning on diverting the plane. So this goes to the letter, right? The letter was like, these guys were defecting. They were going to divert this plane and take the defectors and make the defectors disappear. And the United States government said, no. So this is where you can see why the letter makes sense, right? The letter makes sense because the U.S. knew that China was going to divert the plane because these guys were defecting with the technology. And then the U.S. said, nope, we're going to go ahead and play this whole game of the fire and make you look like idiots. Because if you're planning on diverting this plane and you've got a plan set up and all of a sudden the plane starts on fire, you're going to be like, oh, shit. And next thing you know, the United States government comes in with their orbs and teleports it away. I mean, you're just sitting there with your dick in your hand at that point. Prior to entering the People's Liberation Army, it significantly deviated from its flight course and was tracked by VKO satellites and radar flying into the Indian Ocean region and completing his nearly whatever flight to Diego Garcia. So where did the satellite imagery come from, chat? There you go. This basically says China was actually tracking the plane on satellite. There you go. This is why they released the satellite imagery. They watched us divert it, and they were tracking it with satellites. And then we have the orbs come in, and we teleport the plane away, and then poof, it's gone. Critical note about the flight deviations. The GRU experts say that when it was occurring at the same time, the same period, that all of these mobile communications operated by China were being jammed. So they were actually jamming mobile communications at the same time. So now people wonder, why did the people on board the plane not get a call off? We were probably jamming the communications with the AWACS. So remember, the AWACS were in the area. We had our radar jamming planes in the area, according to the French father. God, I forgot about that. That's crazy. As to how the Navy was able to divert the flight to its Diego Garcia, this report says it appears to have been accomplished remotely, as the Boeing is equipped by a fly-by-wire system that replaces conventional manual flight controls of the aircraft with an electronic interface, allowing it to be controlled like a drone. So this is where some of the people that say the plane was remote controlled, there might be remote control that related to the story. I have never ruled that out. Like maybe the pilots weren't even in charge of the plane. Maybe it was being remote controlled the entire time. So the communication systems can only be shut down manually. So this is the part 2 as well, where the fire would have taken care of this stuff, and the communications would have just been classified. And Russia and China, this is why Russia and China were hacking the plane, because China wants to figure out what are the communications. And that's why they hacked the Malaysian government. And then they realize, oh, we hacked the Malaysian government, and we find out that there was communications. It's just not being released to the public. And then this is the best part. What remains perplexing is the GRU analysts in this report say, why are the American mainstream media outlets yet to demand from the Obama regime the radar plots and satellite images of this Indian Ocean and South China Sea? As the U.S. military covers this entire area from Diego Garcia like no other seas in the world due to its vital shipping and air lanes. So now they're saying the United States government has satellite imagery of this area. There's no chance the United States government did not have satellite imagery of MH370. So why are we hiding it? Why are we hiding it? This is damning proof. And there's no way to debunk this. If you ask people, why is the United States lying about what happened to MH370, nobody can give you an answer. They get stupid and they go, well, maybe we didn't have satellite imagery of it. Are you fucking kidding me? Of course we have satellite imagery of this plane. We're not tracking every plane on the planet. Yes, we are. We're literally tracking the whole globe, and we're certainly tracking the South China Sea. We're in an extremely adversarial relationship with China over the South China Sea right now. And we were back then as well. This report concludes the U.S. is actually able to conceal the reasons for the disappearance, as they have already done so after the events of September 11th, when the Bush regime disappeared American Airlines Flight 77. Wow. Is there a conspiracy around American Airlines Flight 77? That would be crazy if we actually disappeared another airplane. I'm not going to dig into the 9/11 stuff, but there you go. Okay, so there you go, guys. Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome to MH370X. Now, people wonder, oh, Ashton, why are you a conspiracy theorist? I'm actually not a conspiracy theorist. I believe in that we can do some horrible shit, but before this, I would never have thought we could pull off something of this magnitude, but we did. We absolutely did. I'm a coincidence theorist, and I think that there's no coincidences in this world, and MH370 has way too many coincidences going on, guys. Way too many. I'm somebody who loves science, and I like evidence-based research. So there you guys go. We're gonna close it off here so you guys can get to the debate. I'm glad we started a little bit early. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will be back tomorrow night. We're gonna look at paramagnetic resonance, and we're gonna try to figure out more about the exotic vacuum objects. As you guys can tell, this is all about plasma orbs, coherent plasma, right? It's not about aliens. This is not about aliens stealing the plane and sending it to another dimension. It's not about any of that. This is about the United States government conducted a counter intel operation against China on this plane, and we covered it up and we hit it. And that explains basically everything. Explains the videos, explains the dodgy reaction of the U.S. government, explains why they rejected the FOIA requests, explains it all. So, MH370X, love you guys. Have a great night. I'll play you guys out. I'm going to play us out with one of our other songs that we don't play very much. So, peace, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to do this first.
It's MH370 until you do some research. Don't talk to me. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. Your opinion, it succeed. But guess what? MH370